big changes might be coming for Samsung and Qualcomm in 2026. According to new reports, the Snapdragon chips that will power the Galaxy S26 series could be made by none other than Samsung itself. Yes, after a break of almost 3 years, Qualcomm might be returning to Samsung Foundry to produce its next-generation flagship chip, the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2. Now, while the Galaxy S26 lineup isn't expected until early next year, the chipset that will power those devices is likely to be officially announced in September. And here's where it gets interesting. Samsung is rumored to exclusively use this new Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2 chip in its flagship smartphones next year. But what's even more surprising is that this cutting-edge chip could be manufactured on Samsung's 2nm process. If this move actually happens, it could be a major turning point for Samsung's chip-making division. Why? Because Qualcomm had previously walked away from Samsung Foundry due to performance issues. Back when Samsung made the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, the chip suffered from heating and throttling problems. As a result, Qualcomm shifted all its high-end chip production to TSMC, which offered better performance and stability with its 4nm and 3nm processes. But now, according to a report by C-Daily, Qualcomm plans to launch 2 versions of the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2. One of these versions will be produced by TSMC using its improved 3nm process, and the other version will be fabricated by Samsung Foundry using its brand new 2nm technology. This could signal a new chapter in the Qualcomm-Samsung partnership. Reportedly, Samsung and Qualcomm are working closely to finalize production details. Samsung is expected to wrap up production testing by the second quarter of this year, with mass production scheduled to begin in the first quarter of 2026. The Samsung-made version of the chip will likely be the made-for-Galaxy variant and will be used in the Galaxy S26 and possibly other premium Samsung phones launching in 2026. Production will take place at Samsung Foundry's highly advanced Hwaseong S3 factory. It's expected to produce around 1,000 sheets of 12-inch wafers for this particular chip. Although Samsung's 2nm production capacity currently sits at around 7,000 wafers per month, this initial order from Qualcomm is relatively small. Still, this is more about trust and capability than volume. What's important now is the chip yield, meaning how many of those chips will meet Qualcomm's strict quality standards. That's the big unknown for now. If Samsung can pull this off and deliver high-quality Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2 chips, it could regain a lot of lost ground in the semiconductor space. Even if the Qualcomm order isn't massive in terms of revenue, successfully fabricating a top-tier chip would be a massive credibility boost for Samsung Foundry. It could open the doors for more orders, not just from Qualcomm, but potentially from other big players in the industry. Let's not forget, there were earlier rumors suggesting Samsung might produce some of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 or even the Snapdragon 8 Elite chips, but those never materialized. This time, if Samsung actually lands the production of the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2, it could be a game changer. It would signal that Samsung has resolved the technical issues that plagued its earlier chip processes. There's another interesting layer to this story. Samsung Foundry is also reportedly manufacturing Qualcomm's Snapdragon XR2 Plus Gen 2 chip on its 4nm node. This chip is said to power Samsung's upcoming extended reality XR headset, which is expected to be unveiled before the end of this year. This growing collaboration between Samsung and Qualcomm hints at a much deeper and strategic partnership than we've seen in recent years. In short, Samsung isn't just aiming to win back Qualcomm's business, it's aiming to become a serious contender in the global chip-making race, especially in the ultra-competitive 2nm segment. TSMC may still be the top choice for many, but if Samsung can prove its capabilities with the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2, it could dramatically shift the landscape. So will the Galaxy S26 be powered by a Samsung-made Snapdragon chip? All signs point toward a very real possibility. And if everything goes according to plan, this could be Samsung's big comeback in the foundry business, not just as a smartphone maker, but as a top-tier chip manufacturer competing head-to-head with the best in the world.